There was a lot of information that Moray shared with us. I pray that we all got a very good understanding on exactly what's going on about the covenants. Are there any questions? Everybody's good.
I'm still fuzzy on the two pieces. I don't understand like what you mean by two pieces if you're talking about all the different animals.
Genesis the 15th chapter. You can start at 1, 2, 3. You can start at.
Did he tell her to bring a heifer?
Yeah.
Heifer and then I said.
You can also get Yahusha, the 34th chapter. You can start at like verse 16. Maybe like down to maybe like verse 18. But you can just read it. I mean, the Bereshit, the 15th chapter, when he begins to talk about Abram, it's like the father is having a conversation with Abram, and he's telling him that, Abram is saying that he don't have an heir. He's talking about Eliezer here. And so now, after the father said that I'm going to make you a great nation, we have, like Moray said now, that Abram is now looking for a sign. So we have here now is that after the father gave the commandment, it's now like you're questioning me. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a sign or this booth. And so now, it's almost like the tables are beginning to turn a little bit here now. It's because after I told you this is what I'm going to do, you're not going to question how the Father's going to do it. So this whole thing now is about having faith in the Father, is that we never want to put ourselves in a situation where we're questioning the Father. If you say that I'm going to do it, that's what it is. I'm going to do it. Don't question the Father. He's not a human where you can like question him. He's not on the same level as you and I are. If he says, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So being that now you have this faith, because it's supposed to be faith-based. So he didn't have the full faith. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a sign. And so after he asks him now to bring all of these animals, we now have it just cut in two. And so now Abram now is actually, not Abram, because Abram falls asleep. And so now the smoking furnace now goes between the pieces. Goes between the pieces now. After this smoking furnace goes between the pieces, now the covenant is made. Not until a party goes between the pieces. Because you see where the pieces are?
What is that? I'm still confused.
You get Genesis 15.
Yeah, just read it.
I'm looking at it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Read it.
Yes.
Start at verse 9.
And he said, it's going to take me a heifer 3 years old, and a she-goat 3 years old, and a ram 3 years old, and a turtle and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
Right, so before you go any further, what we're trying to show here now is that blood ratification. In order for there to be a covenant, the type of covenant that the Father is talking about, somebody has to go between the pieces. Those animals that were cut now were symbolic of whoever breaks the law. The same way that those birds and those pigeons were split asunder,
And that,
whoever breaks the covenant is also supposed to die that same way. It's a blood covenant. And then Moray brought out now, remember when the blood of the animals, he put half of it in the basin. He sprinkled half of it now on the book. But which book was this? Because now, like Moray has said now, is that the sin of the golden calf had not happened yet. But there was a covenant now that he had made with Abram. And so he's trying to establish that. So now he's going to now make this a blood covenant. He's sprinkling the blood on the people and on the book. So there's a blood connection now between the people and the book. But which book? Now, we're not going to go too far into it because Maury, he's going to bring up later on about the whole Levitical priesthood thing there. But again, so whoever breaks that covenant that the Father made with Abram, because everything is based upon the covenant that the Father made with Abram. So if the people now who are descendants of Abram, because these people came from the loins of Abraham, Maury talked about the circumcision, which is very important now. All of these children now came from the loins of Abraham, making them Abraham's descendants. These people now are part of the covenant that the Father made with Abram, and he said, listen, you know what? You will come hither again. That very same location that happened, where the animals were set asunder, the children of Israel went back to that same exact location, because remember in Genesis the 15th chapter, he said, you will come hither again. The word hither again is talking about the same location.
Because remember when it first started, when we were back to Abraham, everything was by the words of the oath that's coming out of his mouth. Everything was all strictly off his word. But because of Abraham's faith kind of wavering, when he went back and questioned the Mosai, now, to make you a believer, now all of a sudden he's asking them to bring these meats and these things to be split in twain for the covenant. Showing them now, death is required for this covenant. Whoever breaks this covenant in that same manner shall, just like those animals died, the person who breaks the covenant or the party that breaks the covenant, they're required to die.
So if you're saying, when you said earlier that if Abram had walked through that, he would have died, or no nation of Israel would exist today.
Right, because remember, the reason he put Abram in a trance, remember he had explained to Abraham, know for a surety, what? Thy seed. Then if you keep reading, he talks about how they were going to enter into sin and be, even after he's gone, they were going to be terrible. But so that's why he wouldn't allow Abram to walk through that, because he knew, he knows everything. He foreknew, he knew the sin of the nation of Yashra'al, or the people. So, by that being said, had Abraham walked through that covenant, or walked that covenant, there would have been not anything that could have been done to spare the nation of Yashra'al. They all would have had to be wiped totally out of existence forever. But because Yahuah walked it himself, he can have mercy. He can have mercy. But even with that, even with the death, what did he do? He was going to wipe them out. He was going to wipe all of them out and start over with Moses. But Moses mediated on behalf of the people. And it said now, okay, then since death is required, since you're going to mediate for them, I'm going to give them something. Y'all remember Deuteronomy 28 chapter? Mm-hmm. What came along with that? Blessings and what?
And curses.
And curses, life and death. We're going to get to that in another lesson. So all of this lesson is an intro, is leading to something.
Exactly.
So I have a question. So what Phil was saying with the two pieces. So is it the two pieces because it says it's cut in two? Was it because it was like symbolizing righteousness and sin and he walked in between? Because I'm trying to understand why was it two pieces?
And is there another example of that? Because that's what's throwing me off.
Oh,
too.
Yeah, there is.
No, scripture.
Exactly. Jeremiah 34, 16 and 18. What do you have?
Jeremiah 34:18.
let's try 16 and 8 through 18. I think that's it.
But you turned and polluted my name and caused every man his servant and every man his handmaid, whom you had set at liberty at their pleasure to return, and brought them into subjection to be unto you for servants and for handmaids. Therefore thus says Yahuah, you have not hearkened unto me in proclaiming liberty, every one to his brother and every man to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim at liberty for you, says Yahuah, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the famine, and I will make you to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And I will give the men that have transgressed my covenant, which have not performed the words of the covenant which they have made before me, when they cut the calf in twain and passed between the parts thereof.
Right, so what I'm trying to share here is that at this point here now, we have the year of the Jubilee. And what's happening now is that during that time, you're supposed to let your fellow brethren go back to his land. Everything that he used to have goes back to him. And so we're still talking about this covenant here and walking between the pieces. What they're not doing is understanding that this is a blood covenant, and whoever again breaks the covenant, that person must die. And take, for example, I'll give you maybe a better example. You have, when Israel left Egypt, in order for this covenant to be ratified, blood ratified here, we had the death angels going over the houses of Israel. So we see the blood on the doorposts. Then we have another situation where the Father now divided the waters. When the waters were divided now, we have Israel now going again through pieces, or there's a division here. And they're walking through, and once they now get onto dry land, we now have them in a situation where now they're in the wilderness. But when they're going between these two bodies, it's the Red Sea, but they're going again between pieces now. That's a covenant statement. Then we have another situation where when Israel was in the wilderness, they're now on the east side, about to go into the land of Canaan. We have another situation, because now Moses is dead. Joshua now takes the baton to lead Israel now actually into the land. But we have the same situation again, because there was a generation that died. They didn't make it into the land. So we have now the same situation again. In order for there to be a covenant, the Jordan River splits into. And so now Israel now goes through the waters again. And so when they go through the waters now, to let you know that this is a commitment now, Israel is told now, Joshua tells the elders in Israel from each tribe now to go back now into the water, pick up 12 stones, take those 12 stones out of the Jordan River, and when you get to the Galilee now, set up the stones there, and we're now going to make the covenant. And then we have a situation now, remember now, the priests now, they're actually inside of the dry part of the land there, between the two waters now. Joshua now goes back into the Jordan River. He goes back there now. He gathers up 12 stones as a memorial now, builds up those 12 stones inside of the Jordan River. The priest now goes through the river now. All this is a covenant, because they're still going between pieces here now. They get back to the dry land, and then the water closes up. I don't know whether Maury is going to do this now. And then what happens now is that you find a situation where when John the Baptist now starts his ministry, it is the same place now where Israel crossed the Jordan River at. And that's another story there, but what I'm trying to show here now is that everything is interconnected. Every single thing. What Maury did was a great job. This is a wedding ceremony. There's an offer. All right? We accepted the offer, right? So there was an acceptance. After that now, it has to be blood ratified. We have now the shedding of the blood. And then we have the covenant meal, making all of this now comprised of one big ceremony. But Israel now, we broke that. We broke it. Maury brought out now, we have a situation now, what was actually inside of the ark and what was on inside the ark and what was on the side of the ark. One was as a witness against Israel, but what was actually now going on, the fathers now was actually trying to implement what was inside the ark. And then final, Scripture tells us now from beginning to end, it's better to obey than to sacrifice. It was always better to do it that way, to be obedient. So, prayerfully, we was able to get something out of that. But again, when animals are killed, this is a blood covenant. If you break that covenant, the same way that these animals died, you must die.
And also, it's some stated that's very important in the book of Luke. In the book of Luke, it says, the law and the prophets were until John. Why were the law and the prophets till John?
Because they were pointing toward the Messiah.
They were pointing toward the Mashiyach. You ever notable John? John is, who is John, first of all?
That's Zachariah's son.
That's my son.
That's Zachariah's son, and he was also of the 8th course of Abijah.
He was what?
He was the 8th course of Abijah.
The 8th course of Abijah. If you study the Abijah, this is all those that are a part of that priesthood. They're different from any of the other priests you read about. From Moses until John. You will find it strange that this one of the Abijah is the one that immerses Yahusha. Why is it important that this one immerse Yahusha? Now, if he said the law and the prophets were until John, then John is preparing the way for who? What happened with Mashiyach? You ever notice when his blood is when he ratifies the new covenant, he shed his blood? What happens in the temple? Is not the veil of the curtain? It's rent in twain or in two? Because this is the transferring of what? A priesthood. Who was allowed to go in the temple? Think about this, y'all. The high priest. Mashiyach, he's the high priest. This is the transformation of what? A priestly order. I'm trying not to get in the lesson, but all of this, it makes so much sense when we get into it, y'all.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And I'm going to try to squeeze it in these next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the beauty about it, but it's going to be up to the Mishpachah. The way that I look at it is like this. The Father has been blessing us all last week. All right, and this we're about to end the week. We're about to start Yom Rishon. I understand that, we want to do an hour and 15 minutes, and we're about pretty much ready to go. My argument is that, I'm long-winded. I mean, I like to do this thing, and I feel that, me personally, is that I can give more than an hour and 15 minutes to the Father, being that everything that He has done for me throughout the week. So I can share, I'm sure everybody has their testimony. Even Chadasha, remember, we would be up in class, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. We'd be out there on the streets teaching from 2 o'clock in the afternoon up to 10 o'clock at night. And so this is what we did. So this is the reason why, I just like to dig. Just dig. And again, it's all because of it's just that the Father, He's just so busy. He's just always blessing. So me personally, an hour and 15 minutes is kind of crazy, kind of ludicrous, to me. So, but again, we just try to make sure everybody is comfortable. There's a lot to this lesson here. It's all about doing the will of the Father. I know this causes a problem a lot of times with certain people where we talk about doing all of the Father's will. And we did say that we will do it. And being that we said that we will do it, we will be held responsible for every single word. Every single word. There's no way in the world that the Father is going to accept you coming, as they say, half-assed. It's not going to happen. You just have to stay here and wait for Jesus to come. That's not the best I have for you. Because you're not going to be able to make it into the kingdom any other way. But Maury, he did a good job. I mean, I can't say it enough. I mean, again, you know, the smoking furnace, the mountain being on fire. We had Nadab, Abihu. These guys were told to stay at the foot of the mountain. Moses goes up into the mountain. This smoke appears at the top of the mountain. Why at the top of the mountain? I mean, what is the significance behind that? The chief cornerstone coming on top of the mountain. All of this interconnects. All of this is leading back to the Mashiyach. Every single last, all of it.
And eventually we'll look at, most people don't know how many times Moses ascended on that mountain.
Oh, boy. Yes.
Most people think it's just one or two times. Two times. No. He went up on that mountain many times.
Yep, here they go again. Let me go back up again.
And he did not go there without a purpose.
And it's not they, it's us today. You know, so that's how we read it. Well, it was them. No. It's still, we're still the holdup. The come and redeemed them a long time ago. But,
Yeah.
We're the problem. Yes.
My question is, before Moses saw them doing what they did with the golden calf, before that did Yahuah say to Mashiyach that he shall be an Elohim before them to represent himself?
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, since that's true, my question is, did Mashiyach break the tablets to show the people how Yahuah felt towards their sin?
I'm sure Moray is going to bring that out because, because we have a situation again where I just stated that the Father wrote these commandments with his hands and Moshe breaks them, but we need another set of tablets. So those tablets, the second time, is going to represent something. There's a lot. There's a whole lot to it. The whole thing where people would ask, well, why didn't Aharon die? Because he was the one who told the people, listen, you know what, break off your earrings off your sons and your daughters and things like that and make the golden calf. What we have to understand now is that Aharon said, listen, that this calf is going to represent who? Yahuah. So it was still Yahuah. But, and like Moray said, we went to the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, not to make a golden image to Yahuah. You can't do no golden images or anything like that. So there was a reason why his life was spared. But still at the same time, remember, he didn't cross over to the promised land either. He also died because of the people. And then it made mention now that these people was involved in rivalry. Okay, and so what was that about? These people was involved in a lot of sexual illicit behavior. They was doing a whole lot of crazy stuff. Then you look at the golden calf. What was the golden calf? The golden calf is actually what aspers the bull. So we see now that that was actually the same thing that Northern Kingdom was involved with when they departed from the rest of the tribes. They built one in Bethel and another one I think was in the city of Dan. Because remember it was Jeroboam, they said it was too far for Israel to go down to Jerusalem, so he built up these golden calves. Again, that whole golden calf and Aspis the bull and Taurus the bull and the whole thing with, we talked about it before with the whole Enki Enlil thing, and Enlil being supposed to be the god of Taurus, and we get into the zodiac, moving from the sign of Taurus, and then you go to Exodus, the 12th chapter, we see now that the sign of the ram. All of this is all in there, and I'm sure Maury is going to go through this. So it's astrology, and it's also it's a whole lot. Anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. But Maury is going to.
He broke the tablet and he grinded them up.
Yeah.
And put them in the water and made them drink.
Exactly.
Very important.
Exactly.
Because remember, when Yahusha came before the Sabbath, he came with wine and bread, which is signifying the covenant meal, or what we call the Last Supper, or it was a marriage supper that we're eventually working to. So what should be a betrothal cup has become something else.
It's gonna take some time. We're gonna get through it though. We're gonna get through it.
Hey, Mark, can we sing a few songs before we just
Oh, yeah.
pray out in this?
Yes, absolutely. So we. Good. All right. So we have Ariel. If you can get on the.
Get on the black and white. Keep going.
Okay. So we can have the ladies of Yashra'al, Ochi Rose, Shemai, Karai, and yeah, I guys get up and you're gonna sing some songs. But that's, we got some singers in the back too, later, right?
Leah wanted to be featured.
She wants to, all right.
Come on, everybody, let's stand up. Everybody on your feet at a time. We can do all your things first on the sound. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Beautiful. Hallelujah.
Anybody have any requests?
Pesach men's choir.
It's a man's life.
Shoot that in there, man.
Love you It won't work. Say no weapon.